At what cost are we just going to keep doing this to ourselves? But, I mean, the same thing. I think right now we got people just trying to be Superman.
9 3-inch head. 8.5-inch dick.
Yeah, it's safe to say the Cowboys have some problems. And yeah, there are more problems than the fact that the team's owner happens to know the size of his players' third legs off the top of his head. The fact that that clip exists is absolutely insane. And it doesn't seem like there's a fix for the Dallas Cowboys' problems. I mean, well, there may be somebody, but we can't even get to that type of speculation until the end of the year. Last year, the Dallas Cowboys were one of the best teams in the NFC with one of the best defenses in the entire NFL, and all of that collapsed at the hands of the Green Bay Packers in their wild card matchup versus the Packers. And it seems like this year things have gotten even worse. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help us get to 1 million subscribers. And now that we get all that out of the way, work! This past month has been amazing. Everybody has been using the Caleb Williams free square to make some easy money, and this is our final week of free square September. All you need is to guess one player's stats correctly to 3x your money. To sign up for PrizePicks, click on the link in the description down below or go onto the App Store. Use my promo code Mikerophone to get $50 whenever you play a game of $5 or more. And follow me on Instagram at @TheFlightMike to see my picks on a daily basis. And thank you, PrizePicks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I don't know what it is, but the Jones family has done a remarkable job making Cowboys fans like myself look like complete fools since week 1. Or I guess a part of it could be my posting on X. Expectations were sky high for the Dallas Cowboys to not only win the NFC East, but possibly make the Super Bowl. And in the offseason, Jerry Jones did us no favors in trying to maintain that level of optimism. Remember when he said this?
How do we feel about where we've been in this free agency? We feel great about what we've been in free agency. All in. All in. All in. We're all in with these young guys coming up.
Coming into the season, the hope was that the Dallas Cowboys could potentially take the next step and top teams like the San Francisco 49ers and the Detroit Lions. But with the way things are looking so far, Detroit could easily drop 50 on this terrible defense. I mean, the team all around has shown minimal effort so far this season, and their record is proof. It's a miracle that they're not 0-3 at this point, but they lucked into facing 2024 Deshaun Watson in their opener. So the defense didn't face much adversity. A week later, though, man.
Score 6 touchdowns on their first 6 possessions, and Derek Carr looks unbelievable.
Of all people, Derek Carr made the Dallas defense look like a Pop Warner football team for 60 minutes. Well, at least Derek Carr did, and the fact that Alvin Kamara literally turned back the clock to 2018 when he was facing off against the Dallas Cowboys. This was beyond embarrassing. Getting showed up that much in your home opener by a team you were favored to beat by at least a touchdown should not be happening. The same exact thing happened in the playoffs last year. Dallas was favored to beat Jordan Love and the Packers by 7 when they met in the wild card round. It was the first time a 7th seed was able to defeat a 2nd seed in NFL history. And even furthermore, the Dallas Cowboys were undefeated at home. Dan Quinn led up 48 points in one of the biggest upsets of the year. And since that moment, everything has gone downhill. But hey, at least we have Dak Prescott giving us motivational cliches after becoming the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. I defended Dan Quinn up until that point. I mean, I think he's done a remarkable job with the Dallas Cowboys defense, obviously up until the point where they faced off against the Green Bay Packers. But once Dan Quinn left to join the Washington Commanders as their brand new head coach, a job which I can't really blame him for taking because it was a remarkable opportunity. And by the way, I know there are requests for a Jaden Daniels video. I'm waiting for way more film to come out about him, but I'm actually very terrified of this young man, and I think the performance performance he put on Monday Night Football was amazing, but when Dan Quinn left to the Washington Commanders, Jerry Jones decided to bring back his defensive coordinator from 2 decades ago. And to be honest, it felt like a good fit at the time, considering Zimmer was the defensive coordinator there for 7 years earlier on in his career, but it's clear that his scheme just isn't meshing well with the players yet. I mean, at any level. I mean, they're the 30th ranked defense in all of football this year, only ahead of an injury-riddled Rams team and the freaking Carolina Panthers. They also have the worst run defense in football by far. You wanna know just how bad this defense is? This Saints touchdown will show you. There's absolutely no reason that Alvin Kamara should have been able to take this ball to the house. This should have been a 15 to 20 yard gain at most, but absolutely nobody was guarding the sideline. But hey, it's the second game in a new defense for these guys, so mistakes are gonna happen, right? Well, at least that's what I was hoping for. I was hoping that the Cowboys would at least be competitive against the Baltimore Ravens, because the Ravens came into this game winless, and they also do have a reputation of choking in big moments. I'm sorry, Ravens fans, it's just true. But in this game, we just saw that the Cowboys' problems were just exasperated. I know what you might be thinking.
Mike, the final score was just 28-25.
But don't let that fool you. This game was a blowout until the final moments where Dak Prescott and the Cowboys did their signature garbage time stat pumping. I mean, we got the Dak Prescott special here. The Cowboys offense looked completely lifeless for 3.5 quarters, but the defense couldn't buy a stop. Baltimore rushed for 274 yards and 3 touchdowns on 6.1 yards per carry. Yes, I know it's Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, but their offensive line, which is a mix of unproven young guys and beat up old guys, was absolutely dominating the Cowboys front seven. I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence had a 0% win rate against Ronnie Stanley, who's a remarkable offensive lineman, I will admit, but at least he played with maximum effort. Micah Parsons, on the other hand, was a complete liability. He says that people on the team need to stop trying to be Superman, but every single time he had the responsibility of picking up Lamar Jackson on an option, he tried to slow down the freight train instead. 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. His role all day in the run game was to prevent Lamar Jackson from finding an outside lane, but instead he solely focused on making a play in the backfield on Derrick Henry, and it resulted in some very easy rushing attempts for Lamar Jackson. Now, I don't know if this is on Micah Parsons or if this is on Mike Zimmer, but coming into this game, you had to be prepared for the Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson read option. It's not 2012 anymore. Not only was the run defense terrible, but the secondary couldn't stay with anybody anytime Lamar Jackson dropped back to pass. I mean, look at this touchdown, for instance. Rashad Bateman is an individual that only had 367 receiving yards and 1 single touchdown all of last year. Donovan Wilson bit so hard on his double move in the red zone that he literally looked like Devontae Adams out there. I genuinely don't understand why a defense that was so dominant last year has been so terrible this year. Could it be Deron Bland being hurt? Is it because Jerry Jones lets Stephon Gilmore walk in free agency and join the Minnesota Vikings? Is it the fact that Mike Zimmer is a terrible defensive coordinator? Is it the fact that the Cowboys lost multiple key pieces on their defensive line? Dorrance Armstrong isn't there anymore. Who knows? All I know is it's hard to watch, especially when the offense is completely stagnant for 51 minutes. The only real chance that the Cowboys had at 6 in the first half was late in the first quarter, and of course they wouldn't even get 3 because CeeDee Lamb would have the ball punched out by a rookie in his first game. This drive killed all spirits for Dallas's offense, and CeeDee Lamb seemed to be the only individual that was trying to be competitive at all whatsoever. The problem was, if he didn't get the ball, he made it very clear that he was unhappy. He was visibly disappointed when he wasn't targeted, and he even yelled at Dak on the sideline, saying, "I'm not going anywhere, just get me the ball." He was so mad after the game too. Dallas almost put together a huge comeback in the fourth quarter, but it had almost nothing to do with CD, and he even had a huge drop, so of course he was a no-show for the media post-game. Dak wasn't though, and he had this to say about his star receiver.
Don't dwell. You don't have time to dwell. You look at the way that game ended, and I feel like if we don't dwell in different places on offense, it's a different game, obviously. And
clearly there's some tension there between the two superstars, or they're just frustrated by the fact that they weren't able to get a win that game. Both of these guys got huge extensions in the offseason, making them the two highest paid players in the league at their positions. And they're going to start playing together until at least 2028, so they're going to need some sort of compromise. CD was getting double the entire second half, so why wouldn't Dak look for guys that Baltimore wasn't literally scheming out of the game? This wouldn't be a problem in the first place though if Jerry Jones could build a proper team. He's so worried about paying top guys top money, and he ends up overpaying these top guys top money, that he forgets to build a roster around them. Like, the whole time I was watching the game on Sunday, I was thinking to myself, weren't the Dallas Cowboys the front runners to originally sign Derrick Henry? I mean, just listen to what the old man had to say about the Cowboys run game after the game.
Couldn't afford that.
Why not? Well, you could.
I don't know. Why can't you buy a mansion when you live in a different kind of house? We couldn't afford it. We can't make that all fit.
You know why the Cowboys couldn't afford Derrick Henry? Because they're paying their third string quarterback, Trey Lance, $8 million a year to hand Dak Prescott water. That's it. No wonder you can't afford somebody that could actually help the team. That's always been a huge problem with Jerry, and it's a huge reason the Cowboys haven't won anything in 30 years.
Sometimes you can't buy a mansion because you ran up a lot of credit card debt or something like that. You made bad financial decisions. And
I stated this over and over again when Dak Prescott was up for a contract extension and CeeDee Lamb was up for a huge contract extension. These decisions that you make, the decisions like the Philadelphia Eagles paying AJ Brown a contract extension immediately so they could save $5 million when Justin Jefferson beats AJ Brown's contract, or extending Devontae Smith before that and only paying him $25 million a year annually. Decisions like that allow the Eagles to go out and pursue Saquon Barkley. I know you're thinking, okay, it's a difference of $5 to $10 million, but I mean, just imagine if the Cowboys paid CD at the beginning of the season, he would have been getting paid $30 million a year annually as opposed to 34. If the Cowboys paid Dak at the beginning of the season, maybe he's getting paid $55 million a year instead of 60. If the Cowboys didn't have Trey Lance, then at that point, you literally could sign Saquon Barkley as opposed to the Philadelphia Eagles. It's these little mistakes. It's this lack of awareness whenever it comes to managing their finances that really bites them in the regular season. And it's clear that Derrick Henry would have loved to play with Dak Prescott, but instead they're stuck with Rico Dowdle, the shell of Ezekiel Elliott, and the corpse of Dalvin Cook in the backfield, and which means there's no real threat to take pressure off of CeeDee Lamb, which is why he's so frustrated to begin with. You just have to take away CeeDee Lamb and you're fine. Everything's just a complete mess in Dallas right now. And the thing that's adding even more pressure to the Dallas Cowboys is their game against the New York Giants was their final chance to face off against a lesser opponent. I mean, take a look at their schedule coming up.